Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. Later today, the Sandy Peggy / Dr. Upton case continues. This, of course, is the tribunal that has been set out after NHS Fife decided to suspend Nurse Peggy from work because she complained about having to share a changing room with a man who likes to call himself Dr. Upton, even though Beth Upton, as he calls himself, isn't his real name. Now, the problem about this is that it's gone on a bit and it's cost a fortune. At the moment, it's almost £250,000 in costs because NHS Fife think that you should allow biological men to go into changing rooms set aside for women, even though the women don't want men in the changing room. And of course, this is all at Victoria Hospital in Kirkcaldy. Now, the whole thing, the tribunal, was meant to start and end back in February, but because of the NHS Fife refusing to release documents, key documents, didn't want to do it, kept trying to say that these shouldn't be released, etc. It ran on and on and on. Eventually we had to have it closed down for a while, and then it's restarting, as I say, today. Now it's likely to go for another week, 10 days, something like that, and then the decision a couple of weeks after that. It's going to have huge repercussions for the public purse because, as I say, already nearly £250,000, but it's likely to double by the end of that, especially if the NHS Fife loses, because at that point, of course, reparations have to be paid. Plus, for some reason, NHS Fife are paying Dr. Upton's fees, but not Nurse Peggy's. But of course, if she wins, they're paying them as well. But you have to ask a couple of important questions. Why does NHS Fife think it appropriate to break the law by insisting that a man can go into women's changing rooms? And having had the Supreme Court case explain that sex means biological sex, why have they not just given up the case already? Because the law is on Nurse Peggy's side. Now, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what the result is. Win or lose, NHS Fife will lose. Because if Nurse Peggy wins, they have to cough up and then pay all the damages and all the costs. And then she can sue them for endangerment, etc., by allowing a man into the female changing room. If, however, that they find in favour of the hospital, then the equalities and ECHR, the equalities. What do they call it? Equality and human rights. That's right. I'm doing it. I'm confusing the European one with the British one. It's the EHRC. That's right. And then there's the ECHR. That's what was confusing me. God, pick some different letters. Anyway, the Equalities and Human Rights Commission said they will sue because NHS Fife are breaking the law. So it doesn't matter what the decision is. Either way, NHS Fife are going to court and going to lose because the law is not on their side. Now, there's been evidence given already, some of it quite like a bombshell, really. Statements from Dr. Upton, as well as some of NHS Fife's very senior management, who attempted, for some reason, to try to defend the position of allowing men into women's safe spaces. And yet, you can't change biological reality. This is the thing. Now, Sandy Peggy, the nurse here, said that it was a distressing experience, having sudden and heavy period, fearing that she'd bled through to her scrubs, and then she gets to the changing room and there's a man in there taking his clothes off and exposing himself in front of her. And so that's what really kicked this off, you see. So it's all there. I mean, you can see why there is no dignity or anything like that. And, these women don't want a bloke exposing themselves. They don't want a bloke in there having a gawk, sitting there with an expression of, "Go, look at that on your coupon," But it's just going to be one of those things that happens now. Um, it's expect to be fair, it's expected that Sandy Peggy will win the case now, because the lawyers for NHS Fife will be going, for God's sake, don't, but it's just a case now of how much Sandy Peggy will get. But whatever it is, there will be a lot of wailing and greeting on the side of Dr. Beth Upton. But he can go off and sod off and do one. And in future, of course, he'll have to get changed with all the other men. Quite right, too. And so, yeah, we'll find out any more that's going to come. I don't know, if it'll go the full sort of 10 or 11 days that it's due. There can't be that much more evidence to give. But it is an astonishing case that this has even gone to a tribunal. No men should go into women's safe spaces. No men should be exposing themselves. No men should be in there looking. Sad, isn't it? Sad that this has happened. When a sad, inadequate little man thinks he can do this. The correct response from NHS Fife, of course, would be, no, you're fired. You're a man and you went into a female changing room. We're not having that. There's your termination papers. Boom, off. And then I would actually have pushed for him to be disbarred from being a doctor. But there we go. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks very much. Bye.